You did your build video, uploaded it as I was building my room.
Ours came out within like weeks of each other, right?
I think so, yeah. Very jealous because this room is epic, right? it is an epic studio.
That was the name of my studio build video.
Not clickbait.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, before this space, you were in an apartment.
I was, yeah. My last space was in a 12-foot by 12-foot apartment bedroom.
Yeah.
And that was my first space when I first moved to town, and that was just all I could afford. So I had to move here and get it going. I had huge commercial space in Peoria, Illinois,
right,
where we're both from.
Heard of that, yeah.
And funny enough, and then when we came here, I just had to get a small space to get my feet under me, and then just worked my ass off until I could move out of there up.
What part of town was that in?
Bellevue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're in Bellevue. So then before building this place, I looked at a ton of commercial spaces. I probably looked at 30 rooms, like rooms on Music Row, like all over the place. And it was just so expensive. The best room that I found where I could like push my gear in and make records, it was like $3,600 a month for a room smaller than this.
With neighbors.
With neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's a $2 million house. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so we decided to build. And so
did you build the whole house?
Yeah, the whole house was from scratch, yeah. And so we chose the layout plan based on like trying to get a separate entrance, because that was a big part of it. I needed something that would separate my life from my work, and we could just get clients to come right in. That's such a big deal. Your place is like that. Did that, picked this layout, made some modifications to the layout, and then structurally it got a little crazy, because like this floor, I didn't want to do a floating floor. I don't want to get too crazy technical on this, but floating floors get really, really heavy. Yeah. And you really have to float like concrete in order for it to make any difference.
Sure.
So the middle ground was to layer up the floor. And so the floor is 3/4 inch plywood, layer of green glue, layer of 5/8 drywall, layer of green glue, layer of 3/4 inch plywood, and then hardwood.
Whoa.
And then, so when I told the builders that's what I wanted to do, they ran the numbers and they said that it would be an extra like 6,000 pounds of weight.
Oh yeah.
So then it got into the structural side of things. So now there's huge beams, and like the floor joists are all doubled and tripled up. And there's videos of that on the channel. Yeah, it was the only way on a 2nd story floor. I wanted it to be as dead as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
There's so much space here that 20 hertz would just go wild in the floor if it wasn't dampened like that.
Yeah.
So
24 by 26?
Yeah.
Whoa.
12-foot ceilings.
And 12 foot in the center, which is notably a very wide center. A lot of these bonus rooms cut in very close to the middle, so you lose a lot of that volume of the room, and this is wonderfully wide. How big is that cloud?
It's 8 by 11.
Oh my God. So it's 8 deep.
8 foot by 11 foot wide, yeah.
Wow.
And the goal with that was just to cover all of the flat center with the cloud, so that way there would be no slap. And you know, like nothing's ever finished. There's gonna be a 2nd cloud here. And I kind of got stopped because there was gonna be a booth right there, and the YouTube channel started taking off. And so that ended up being where I film a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, there's so much space in here.
And so it's just like, I didn't finish the back half of the treatment because of that. And now that I know that this is gonna be for making videos, that needs to get finished up.
How much time did you spend? Like the house took what?
It took
6
like
months?
6 months, yeah, to build the house.
Was that
so
additional?
They did all the structural stuff, and like that room was like drywalled and framed out. But there was no like wet bar in there, and there was no like acoustic treatment, and I built the cloud. So basically when we got the keys to the house, it was just a finished like livable house. There wasn't like anything done. So then I spent 3 weeks doing all the acoustic treatment, building the cloud, electrical, you know, and then other stuff on the construction. Like I wanted to do everything that couldn't be done later when we built it. So like all the quad boxes or home runs to the panel, so I could do isolating transformers, like all the stuff that would be impossible to do later, I did when they built the house. Because that's the hard part about building a place like this from scratch. You have no idea what the power is going to be like when you're done. It might be dirty, nasty power. And so then that way I could have done an isolating transformer if I needed to, which luckily the power here is awesome.
What was like some of the differences between going from that small room to a room like this?
Well, it was really weird because my space is, this is my 4th room And so
Okay.
my
Oh, that's
space
right.
is back in Illinois. I had 2 commercial studios in Illinois.
Yeah.
The last one being like 3,600 square foot.
Wow.
So going from 3,600 square foot to
Yeah.
a 12 foot by 12 foot bedroom when I moved
Yeah.
here, and then back finally to a place that feels professional. It's weird because the apartment home studio thing was like, I made the best music of my career there.
Yeah.
Still, the highest charting song I've ever worked on happened in that room.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm really grateful that it worked.
Yeah.
But this is so much better.
Yeah.
This is so much better. Yeah, so I will commonly have like a singer over there, an acoustic guitar player over here, and we can do like demos and work tapes like that with very little bleed over. The rest of it was I play so much on so many of my productions. It's real common for me to be producing the whole thing and I'm playing all the instrumentation and I'm programming like everything besides drums.
Uh-huh.
And so the goal was just how can I do all that in a way that I never have to leave my seat and everything is instantly reachable. So like the guitar amps are always hooked up to the ISO cab. The ISO cab's always wired into the patch bay, which is almost always already hooked up to these preamps. So it's just like, oh, I'm cutting vocals. Oh, I need this guitar part. Flip, 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 grab a guitar, and we're going in 10 seconds. So I try to make everything as streamlined as possible. It's one of the things that I talk about a lot on my channel is how like the level of efficiency is the way that I've been able to make this successful.
Yeah. Is it what you thought it would be and more or less?
In here, I do literally everything except cut drums. So
Okay.
I cut drums somewhere else. I always go to some other studio or have a session player cut drums. And then everything else happens here. I produce the vocalist here. Whether or not I'm playing all the instrumentation or someone else is, depending on the group, if it's a band or an artist, they all do everything here. And then I mix here and I master here. As far as the space, this is nothing that I did, but the room is like unbelievably flat. It's like one of the flattest rooms I've ever been in. And that is just by chance. The dimensions of it just happened to work out that way. I did fully plan on putting a vocal booth there.
Yeah.
But the room is so flat and so good sounding, I think making it not symmetrical.
Yeah.
Is that asymmetrical or B-symmetrical or
Yes.
C-symmetrical?
Yes.
All of the above?
Yes.
I think it would screw the sound of the room up. And so between that corner being used for YouTube and the room being so good, yeah, I decided to leave it there.